let's talk about VP possibilities, because all this incoming on Josh Shapiro, it's crazy to me that they're trying to make it a deal breaker that when he was in college in 1993 and 20 years old, he wrote, "Mideast peace will never come. Palestinians will not coexist peacefully. They are too battle-minded to be able to establish a peaceful homeland. The only way a peace plan will be successful is if the Palestinians do not ruin it." Absolutely every word of that is true. It was true then, it's true now. But now he has to disavow it. And he was 20, but now he's got to disavow it, saying, "Oh, gee, I was only 20, my views changed." Well, which part changed? Because they don't see him all that peaceful present day.
Yeah. This is such a complicated situation. I think the bottom line for me now, even though I still think he's the most likely to be picked, and there are people in his world who sent signals for almost a week now that they think they believe he is the choice, and it's just a matter of time. The first rule of picking a running mate, as you know, Megyn, is do no harm. Don't pick someone who's going to hurt the ticket. At this point, it's hard to make the argument, as talented as the guy he is, it's hard to make the argument that you can pick him without risking doing harm. Because if you pick him, you're going to have segments of the party upset. One person who's in a position to really care about this decision said, you can't have a successful convention if he's on the ticket, because the left will go crazy and they'll protest inside and outside the hall, and it will ruin the momentum and the excitement around her candidacy within the Democratic Party. And she must have a good convention. And this is a person who loves Josh Shapiro, very sympathetic to him. I think that if she doesn't pick him now, she's created she and her campaign have created a no-win situation. If they pick him, it's going to be extremely controversial. He's not just being opposed over his position on Israel and for his religion. John Fetterman seems to oppose him, his own senator, simply because he says he's too ambitious, which is kind of a funny thing for one politician to say about another. There's complaints about his labor record. Some people don't want him to get it because they favor one of the other prospects. There's lots of reasons people are opposing him. Bernie Sanders is opposed to him because he likes governor of Minnesota. But if she doesn't pick him, I think she'll face a backlash too. A lot of centrists, a lot of American Jews will feel he was not picked because she caved to the pressure of the left. And as you know, one of the big issues for the next 90 days is, will she stand up to the left on anything? Or will she stand up to the left on nothing? And at this point, she switched some issue positions quietly. But this would be a very high profile, in the view of many, a very high profile concession, caving to the left to say, I'm not picking the guy who would probably help me win the state we must win because the left doesn't want me to pick him.
What do we make of this Philadelphia mayor releasing this ad on Friday, was it? They claimed it was inadvertent and she was just pushing for Josh Shapiro to be the running mate. But the ad definitely sounded like one you'd release post-announcement. She was saying he's the running mate. So was this what was this?
Yeah, well, it was just a web video. It wasn't a paid ad. I don't know the circumstances of that. But as I said to you earlier, there are other people in his world who are big supporters of his, who work for him, who have slipped up at various times in the last week and said to people, it's Josh, like, get ready. So I've heard of other ones that are unambiguous, although in some cases they've tried to take it back or swore people to secrecy. This one, I think you can read the video as her simply rooting for him, as opposed to as knowing it was him. I find it hard to believe they told the mayor that it was going to be him and that she would go make a video. I just don't think they did. She
does not seem like a person who they would entrust with the palace keys, but we'll find out.
Exactly.
Actually, just breaking, we'll find out tomorrow. Vice President Kamala Harris expected, this is NBC News, to reveal her VP pick Tuesday ahead of their first rally together in Philadelphia that evening. Do we read anything into the fact that it's Philadelphia?
No, I mean, I think I have thought for a while it's going to be Shapiro, and I still do. So, it makes sense, but they're going to all the battleground states and, they're going east to west. If she announced it today, and this is, I think, the reason for the departure based on conversations I had earlier, it could literally be the third story on the news between the economy and a potential Iranian strike on Israel. It'd be unprecedented. I haven't done the research, but I'm pretty sure historically, when a running mate for a major party candidate is named, it's the lead story. So if you think you're going to pick strong, you're going to ride the wave of excitement for a week, you don't want it to be the third story. And it might still be the third story tomorrow, but it almost certainly would be the third story today if Israel is hit and given what's going on in world markets. So I don't know that they want to take that risk, and that could be the reason. But the other reason could be she's not ready to pick because this is a hard decision now. I was originally told they were going to tell people on Sunday. So if my sources were right, they've already delayed it a day. And now Halperin's third rule of Congress applies to Kamala Harris. No decision is made until it absolutely must be, and sometimes not even then.
Just to put some icing on the cake here, the nonprofit Institute for Middle East Understanding, which is a pro-Palestinian group, is actively calling him a racist, saying his virulently, that's such a hard word, racist comments, calling Palestinians battle-minded and Arabs belligerent. They've reignited the grief and isolation Palestinian, Arab, and Muslim Democrats feel. And then they're mad that he volunteered with the Israeli military back when he was in high school. They say when human rights abuses against Palestinians were being widely reported. Now he's trying to beg off of that, saying, oh, I went on a kibbutz in Israel. I worked for a farm and a fishery. And the program included volunteering on service projects on an Israeli army base. He wasn't involved in active military activities, but he himself had said, I was a past volunteer in the Israeli army. So, I hate politicians, Mark. I hate them. They're just, no one stands by what they earlier said. Just all right. They all do it. Okay, let's move on though. Enough about Shapiro. Mark Kelly, possibly dropping down on the list, according to our pal Eliana Johnson of the Free Beacon. Why? And she refreshes the Free Beacon's 2020 reporting, and it has to do with his former wife. He's described his divorce from the woman he was married to prior to Gabby Giffords as amicable, but court records, the Beacon reports, contradict that description. He asked a Texas court to jail his ex-wife, Amy Kelly, for 6 months after she moved to a new town a few miles outside of their children's school district. And he wanted all sorts of penalties against her for that decision. That's, I guess, potentially problematic for him. And there could be more. I heard Jim Garrity over on the Editor's Podcast say he's working on a piece for the Washington Post with a deep dive on Mark Kelly's problems and why he's not going to make the dance. What do you think?
Well, I've heard that too, and related claims about his first marriage. He also had an investment related to China that makes a lot of Democrats uncomfortable and a lot of Republicans salivate. I don't know. I have not penetrated the betters to know where their concern was. But I know the arc of this was he was very much under consideration. I thought he was the most likely early on in this process. Then I was told he was out of contention, and the two things cited were the two things I just mentioned. Over the weekend, I was told he was back in it. And I think what this is not an uncommon thing. You saw this, for instance, with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. There's a clear front runner, and they're sort of settling in on that. And then at the last minute, the opposition says, don't pick that person, don't pick that person. And the presidential nominee says, all right, let's look again at everybody. Let's make sure we're picking the right person. So I think he's been brought back into the mix under that dynamic. And that, it's not impossible he'd become a fallback, but I don't believe they have a plan in place to handle those two PR issues.
If you're tired of the same old coffee from those mega corporations pushing their woke agendas, listen up. It's time to take a stand and support a brand that embodies American values. At Blackout Coffee, they stand with hardworking Americans who believe in family, faith, and freedom. They roast some of the most incredible coffee you will ever taste using only premium grade beans. And guess what? They roast and ship within 48 hours to ensure you get the freshest coffee possible. I love this because I'm not into grinding my own beans. That's a pain in the butt. It adds another step to the process, and I'm already tired. So to know that I'm getting the freshest coffee, it was ground within 48 hours of me drinking it, that's big. You could start your day with a bold cup of Blackout coffee. Plus, it's not just coffee. It's a statement. Why settle for less? Make the switch to Blackout Coffee today by heading on over to the blackoutcoffee.com/MK site, or just use the code MK for 20% off your first order. blackoutcoffee.com/MK, and the code is MK. Join the movement. Taste the difference. Remember, with every sip, you are supporting a brand that stands for America. Be awake, not woke. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.